We are so sorry, but we're here now with you guys, and oh, it's so great to be here. Sup, Rebecca?
Up, Matthew. It is so good to be here. And you know what I realized after last week is that that was our 10th episode. So this is our 11th episode of SUP. How cool is that?
That is so cool. I mean, wow, 11 episodes. It's gone by so fast too.
Two whole hands. Two whole hands and an extra.
Yes,
That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
that is so cool. And you know, I'm curious, Rebecca, with this particular episode, if we feel like there's something that we can do to really like highlight here in the beginning, like what we're going to dive into tonight. I don't know. Is there something that we're going to be using tonight that I know you're really skilled at, and I know I have some skill too. I don't know if I'm as skilled as you are because you are pretty awesome at this. So I don't know. What is this that we're going to be looking into tonight?
So everybody out in the SUP world, many of you are familiar with the coaching cycle. And believe it or not, every single week after an episode, Matthew and I go through coaching. What are two things in each episode that went well? What's one thing that we're going to change? And so what we thought we would do tonight, because we're actually going to highlight some amazing trainers and coaches and talk about how they've put together a huge team of coaches. So that's a hint. I'll just tell you they have a huge team of coaches because they realized that they really needed the full support of a team of coaches and not just one or two. So since we're going to be talking so much tonight about coaching, I thought let's do the coaching session with each other on SUP so that everybody can see what coaching is like. So I'll start. Matthew, we just had 10 episodes. We're on session 11. How do you feel like things are going so far with SUP?
Oh, right here. This is where I feel like I am with that.
Right here. Awesome. Cool. So I'm wondering if you had to think of two positives, two things that are really going well with SUP, what would they be?
Well, one for sure is the fact that we've got to meet so many amazing gems and hear their stories. So that's a huge positive because that's really the whole purpose of SUP is to show the shine of all of those gems out there.
Yeah.
And the other thing is I get to work with you, and I really enjoy that. And Carrie and all the other SUP team that come on here. That is awesome for me because I really, with this whole COVID thing, I really miss my pack peeps, and this is another way I get to connect with ones I really enjoy.
Yeah, so we get to connect each week regularly and with our lovely Carrie, who is our lifesaver for all things technical. But also that we've been able to show the shine of some of our PAC certified community gems. So that has been really good for you, huh?
Yes.
Because that was the whole point of this. What's one thing you think that we want to continue to work on as we keep going forward and Tipa keeps letting us do this SUP thing every Tuesday night?
Well, maybe looking at more things out there that maybe we haven't thought of yet. So episodes that we haven't even dreamt up yet would be great. So exploring more of those unmet needs that we haven't touched on, that would be awesome.
Cool. So exploring more of the unmet needs that maybe our certified community has. So how do you think we could do that? How do you think we could get more of that unmet need brought to the surface?
Well, and I know this is jumping forward just a little bit, but really, that comment section down below, guys, we would love for you to comment something that you're really enjoying and that you're learning about this whole SUP process or really enjoying about the gems coming on or any of those pieces or something else maybe that you're really enjoying and would like to share with us. And then one thing that you guys would like to see maybe a little bit different or something maybe we haven't touched on yet or a piece that you would love to share with us. So we'd love for you guys to comment the one thing that you're really enjoying or that you're getting out of this and would like to share. And then that one other thing that you would like to maybe see a little bit different or something maybe we haven't covered yet.
Awesome. I love it. That is awesome. So everybody in the comments below, we would love to hear from you because the reason that we do this each week is for you guys. This is, goodness, This is not about us. This is not about TIPA. This is about shining a light on our certified community. And we want this to continue to do that, but also meet your needs. So who are you looking to hear from? What kind of experts do you want us to have on and ask questions? And I know that we have some really cool episodes coming up. And the cool thing is, Matthew, I just wanted to put this out there, but the myth, the woman, the myth, the legend, TIPA is going to be on in a couple of weeks. So we kind of keep her on from time to time just to keep you guessing, but she's going to be on at the end of the month, and some really amazing folks who are doing work in an arena that is often overlooked by our dementia care world. So I'm just going to put some teasers out there, but we've got some really awesome episodes coming ahead. So speaking of that, should we go with our lovely highlights, our gems of the night?
Yes. So we'd love Amy and Lisa and Abby to join us on SUP tonight. Welcome, ladies.
Sup, gang.
Hey, guys.
Sup.
Oh, my goodness. So we thank you so much for joining us tonight. And again, sorry to you guys for the technical difficulties, and thank you for being so sapphire and being flexible as we were figuring this thing out and trying to get us on here. So thank you so much for being that flexible sapphire that you guys are, those awesome gems. So I'm curious, tell us about how you guys got connected and this whole PAC training thing came into the picture in your guys' situation. And you can give us a little bit of a background too about what you guys, where you guys are at and what you guys were doing prior to, so that way we kind of know the setting and what was going on, and then how that PAC piece started to come into play.
Sure. Can you guys see me okay? Okay, I can't see myself. So yeah, work for Restore Therapy. We've been a company for 25 years, and primarily back in the day when Amy and I met in 2015, we're in the skilled nursing environment, and we had some dementia programming where we focused on training to use the Allen cognitive levels to identify best ability to function, using color coding to help the therapist identify, appropriate goals and treatment strategies. And Amy attended one of my trainings at a building near where she serviced or provided services. So we're in like 100 buildings at this point across Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Missouri, and Amy was in one of our Alabama buildings. She doesn't live in Alabama anymore, but she came to one of the trainings, and several hours of training that I poured my life into. And at the end, she says, "So what's next?" There is no what's next. That's it, And so clearly, she had a passion for caring for the person living with dementia, and she wanted more. In her eyes, we had just scratched the surface, and I had never thought past what I was already training. So she went on looking for different types of certifications and landed on her TIPA Snow Positive Approach to Care coach certification. And I was her clinical support at that point for the company. So came back to me and shared all the wonderful things that she had learned, showed me all her little cards, and was trying to convince me, how can we work together to get this message out to everybody? So it took another year. And her and I both went and got our trainer cert together. So that's kind of how it started in 2017. We were both certified trainers working for Restore Therapy. And it kind of took off from there.
Wow, so cool. So you were doing some training and Amy was in there and she's like, wow, I really enjoyed this and I want more. And she started seeking out, right? She started looking for some more of this training, something that has to deal with brain change. And she found PAC. And so once she came back with this whole coaching certification, she was like, look at these cards and look at all of this awesome stuff. And she was super excited. And she got you kind of on board at that point with, okay, cool. So now we get into, all right, so we got this PAC thing and we're looking at starting that conversation and getting this going in your organization. So tell me how that went. And I know you've got some great slides for us, Lisa. So you tell me at any time if you want me to share a slide on there for everybody to see. So
sure, if you want to put that first slide up, I can just kind of use that as an overview. But sure, Amy saw me being in a clinical support role for the company as an avenue. That next slide, I think. Yeah, as an avenue, as a trainer, because that was my role in the company, was to provide company training. So she's like, if I could connect with you, I'm a coach, but I really feel like I have something to offer as a trainer. We could train together, and then I could use my coach more, because she saw herself in one building kind of being stuck. So once we went to the trainer certification, it just opened up lots of opportunity for us to begin training. And I learned so much at that training. I had been a trainer for many years and learned so much from Tifa just about being a trainer. So using the AELCs, looking at how we could increase awareness and knowledge. And that's what we were focused on in 2018, was just a plan to increase awareness and knowledge. And so I think on the next slide, I rolled out to our COO a plan, because Amy kept saying we need more coaches because we want skill and competence. And if, once we get past increasing awareness and knowledge, we're going to be stuck again, So we rolled out this plan that we could look at all the different phases of where we have influence with our new employees, possibly as a recruitment opportunity. And Abby works with our students and the different school affiliations that we have. And then look at retaining our current employees by being able to offer some free CEUs. And then when I say revitalize, that initial training that Amy attended in 2015, how can we change this to be something more useful? Capturing those gems so it's more than a stage of dementia, because that's where people would be left with, I have this stage, but what about all these other things going on? So learning about Tifa's gems and being able to share that, to look at the states and being able to provide in the moment type of opportunities led us to the coaches. And Amy kept telling me, we need coaches, we need coaches. And so I was able to present this plan to our COO, who graciously agreed to look at people in certain places like Abby, who is a student mentor and a new grad mentor, and looking at some other folks that provide mentoring to establish them as coaches. And we had coach certification that we hosted, and we're able to get 7 additional coaches in addition to myself and Amy, ending up with 3 different disciplines represented across our company for those coaches.
Wow, that is so awesome. So you guys really got rolling with this. I mean, you started to set up every piece that you were needing to not only get the training out there, but then find a way to keep it going and revitalize, just like you said, so that hopefully it continues on and the steam keeps going and it doesn't just fizzle out. And Amy was really sitting there being a kind of a coach herself, saying, look, so here's something that we need to try, or something we need to do and continue to do and work on. So that is so awesome. You guys really started getting this thing going in a great way. And so support's in place and you guys are rolling with these trainings, right? And just like you were saying. So tell us how this started with the buildings. When you started off doing this, how at first it went for you guys. How were they receiving this new way of learning? Because AELCs, for most of us, we haven't been through trainings like that. We haven't had to get up and do these experiences and see these role plays and things like that. So how did that go at first when you guys started to really get in there and doing these trainings?
Matthew, obviously with the AELCs, you're looking at that engagement piece. So it's written in there, using the pre-formulated workshop A, B, and C, which is where we started following the script exactly, it ruled out error. And so initially we were able to get the therapist engaged. We did on-site trainings. We started out trying to meet the need on a weekday and then progressed into a weekend. But right off the bat, as we started training A, B, and C, the engagement piece, the aha, the interest level, then being able to walk away and immediately apply something versus us just kind of giving them that awareness and knowledge, which is what we were doing as trainers. We were able to follow it behind with the coaching opportunities as needed in those different areas to continue to build skill.
That is so cool. So you guys were able to get that piece in place and get it going and be able to come behind and help to support. And so I'm curious, I know I got a chance to see one piece of a video of some modifications you guys made with some of your trainings. I believe it was somebody who was upset behind the camera and then came forward while Amy was doing the training. So tell me a little more about some of these little modifications you guys did to the trainings over time as you were going into the other buildings and how that evolved.
Sure. Amy, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, sure. So Lisa and I, we work very, very well together, very evenly matched, which is really great. We were able to always change things as we would go. So we always look at the new environment. How do we need to modify the environment? Where do we need to put our visuals? And just how big is our environment? How many introverts do we have versus extroverts? And we always take feedback from people. So sometimes they come up to us and be like, Amy, you know, it'd be really great if you did this in your training. I'd be like, oh, that's a lot of work. Well, we'll get it done. And so we always would. We'd always like go back and revamp it. At first, you know, gems is really intimidating to do, but now we do gems and we love gems. We do a whole bunch of skits in gems, and we get our coaches involved when we do gems, and they do skits, and it's really come to life. We have a lot of clinical examples that we've put into workshop B and made some of our AELCs for workshop A more environmentally appropriate for our audience. And our audience is mainly occupational therapists, speech therapists, and physical therapists. Sometimes we get nursing or activities people or nursing home directors. So just kind of thinking about who our audience is and how to make things more applicable. Sometimes people bring up certain situations then that we use, or we answer questions in real time because we've gotten more comfortable with using the AELC, and we'll say, oh, well, tell me more about that. And we'll ask them questions and get them to engage more. So it's become more interactive rather than just script reading, which is where it started when we first started.
Wow, that is so awesome. And really, for all trainers, when they first start, that's why PAC gives you those scripts. It really does help you get your feet wet, essentially, and kind of ease into that pool of the AELC and how that evolves. And then as you get in there and you start swimming, and you're like, yeah, I think I got this. Here we go. Then you start evolving. And we encourage folks, especially in PAC, hey, when you see some things you can do here, make some modifications, help to make it meet more of the needs of your folks that you're working. And like you were saying, you got all these therapists, right? Which shout out to all my therapists out there. So you have all these therapists in there, and there's some modifications you might have to make in there to help them really get those ahas and those great experiences. So that is so awesome. And so I'm curious, there was a story you guys told us about a resident who was really having some trouble. And they were ready to, especially in the therapy world, they were ready to kind of be done with this person because they just didn't know what to do. But then something really amazing happened. So I would really like to hear again about that story.
Okay, I'm Abby. I'm an occupational therapist. And just to sort of set the scene for our story, we had a lady living with dementia, and she's receiving short-term therapy in one of our buildings. And it was her hope, her family's hope, that after that was done, she would return back to her assisted living facility. Well, she had a managed care insurance, and she received a notice of non-coverage, discharge notice. So the family was reasonably upset. The patient was at this level not going to be able to return to her assisted living. They actually appealed. They lost the appeal, and then they even turned to the therapy director and said, "Hey, we are willing to pay privately, room and board and therapy, if you guys could please keep working with her." The therapists themselves were a little hesitant. They really didn't feel, if they could really benefit this patient anymore. She really wasn't great at following commands. They didn't really see much carryover. So the rehab director in clinical services asked me to come up and spend some time with the PT and the OT, and really and the patient, and just kind of see where we are. And if there's anything else that we could do to support this patient so she can meet her goals. So I went up there and I actually went with them individually to treat the patient. Her family member was also there. It's pre-COVID. Family member was also there. And so she let us know specifically, mom has to do XYZ to be able to go home. And so I treated with the physical therapist and with the occupational therapist, and we really kind of slowed down and stopped and really kind of examined, okay, where is this patient and where are we? We keep saying, well, this patient can't make gains, she's not carrying over, but how are we modifying ourselves to meet this patient to where she is? So, I did a lot of coaching. We would do something, I'd pull them aside. I'd even pull the daughter aside because she was very hands-on, and I coached her some too. And there really was, it's a very good experience. I think that the patient actually responded very well as textbook, actually. The whole positive approach, that went very well. And we redid the plans of care to only our goals that the patient needs to go back to assisted living. And what ended up happening is they kept the patient for, I believe, 2 or 3 more weeks. And then she did indeed go back to her assisted living facility. So it was a complete success story of really something that was pretty simple. To just kind of me going up there, spending some time with the PT and the OT and the patient and family. But what a drastic impact that had on her and her family, that she was able to return to her home, her assisted living facility.
Wow, that is such an awesome story. And so, Abby, I'm curious, as a coach, one of those skills that we learn is something we even learn in our trainings, which is that PPA. And it's not just for working with folks living with brain change. It's also when we're a coach and we're approaching people who are in this environment, who really don't have the tools or the pieces needed, or maybe have a little bit but are having trouble accessing that. And then here we come, and how do they usually see us when we walk into that situation, when they say, okay, here comes somebody who's going to help you? How does that usually come off? Like, what was your experience when you walked into this situation and you're like, okay, I'm here to help?
So I would say that the coaching cycle really, it helps facilitate the situation just very smoothly. I know sometimes therapists, if you're having someone to come in and work with you, provide feedback, sometimes you can get a little defensive about that. Oh, I'm a therapist, I have my master's, I have my doctorate. Sometimes you might feel like your clinical expertise is being questioned. However, with this process, it's not me coming in and saying, well, dementia, ABC, 1, 2, 3, and this is what we got to do. It really was, really showing them some, high points of TIFA impact, and really just kind of helping them kind of discover for themselves, well, how can we use this, what we learned? You tell me how you're going to help Miss Smith, in this situation. And then doing it, coming back, okay, well, what went good? What didn't go so well? And, what's something that we can try next time? And if it's not you, let's go work with the other therapists to kind of tell them what we're thinking. So it really kind of, it helps what may be sort of a, I don't know if I would say like resentful situation, a tense situation, to really just kind of be a very casual experience, but really have a significant impact.
Yeah, for sure. So it's that whole concept of you weren't doing to them. You weren't going in there
Right.
and telling them this is what you should be doing.
Right.
You did with them and you explored with them and you had them answer the questions and them come up with the things they were going to try differently. Wow, that concept is just so dynamic. More than just working with our folks with brain change, but also working as a coach with our peers, our fellow coworkers, our care partners, and helping them to see that piece as well, but doing it with them instead of doing to them, and how much of a difference that makes for someone to accept that support versus, no, you're not going to come in here and tell me what to do because I'm pretty sure I know what's going on and I've been here longer than you have, or so on and so forth. So that is so awesome. What a great story, Abby. Thank you for sharing that. So, ladies, I'm curious. In this situation you guys have rolling, which is so amazing, tell us how this is continuing to evolve and what's next for everything you guys have going, because this is really awesome. This is great what you guys have going, and such great experiences that are coming from it.
Well, I mean, we agree when we look at it in retrospect. I mean, just looking at over the past, I don't know, what is it now? 3 years, although 2020 is not over. Just altogether training, I mean, almost 500 people. I could have never done that on my own, nor could I have supported it after the training, without the coaches in place. So obviously, I think the obvious answer for where we're going next is virtual. So Amy's already got us well positioned to do several virtual workshop A's in November. And then she's chomping at the bit for us to be able to do workshop D, which is a novel idea that she had to add on to what we had done with ABC. So we've done some of that, and she can talk more about where she's going with workshop D.
Yeah, so workshop D, everybody gets so excited. They come to our first workshop. We call it our beginners. We teach a full day of A, B, and C. They come for a full day because as therapists, we're trained to go to a full day of continuing ed. And everybody always says it's the best one they've ever been to because they're just so excited to go back and work with their patients living with dementia. And they're always like, what's next? And I understand how they feel because I asked that same question, what's next? And I think when we're trainers, we always look at, we're building awareness and knowledge, and we really haven't always built knowledge, and we really haven't always built skill. And, it's a full day. That's a lot. I mean, I remember going to a CERT course. I didn't get it the first day, the second day. Lisa and I were still training our 8th and 9th training, and we're still like, did Tiva just say that? We're still making connections. So we know our participants are too. So it's really, how can we do another training, but make it distinctly different from A, B, and C? So what we did was decided to incorporate our coaches, because that's what people need, is they need hands-on practice in real life situations. And we have coaches, so that's great. Let's use them. So if you come to our first workshop, A, B, and C, you are eligible to come to workshop D. And workshop D is a full day event. We generally go over the slides from workshop A that we never get to because we never have time. We go over PPA and all the hand under hand skills again, because either they came to the workshop the day before and it was all new, so maybe they didn't get it all, or they came a year and a half ago and do they remember it all? So we just review it all. And it's a good review. We go over gems again. We present them a little bit differently because we did skits for our gems for our workshop C, but for workshop D, we actually show PAC skills makes a difference. So they actually get to see an elderly person in the gem state. And then we pretend like Tifa was the real OT in the situation. And if that was a real therapy session, how would you document it using the PAC lingo and PAC philosophy? And why is it important that we would do that? And what are the outcomes associated with doing that? So we talk about all that, and then we break into groups. Each group is led by a coach, and we assign a certain gem state to a common activity that you would find that gem state with at some of our facilities. And then you have to PPA the person living with dementia, cue them appropriately for their gem state, and use hand under hand techniques in that activity, like upper body dressing or bathing or bed mobility or ambulation and transfers, and how to use your skill fingers with toileting. Well, greater practice on one of us than on your Ruby when you're actually trying to do it. So we provide people with that opportunity and using the coaching technique, then the coaching cycle, and we video them and ask them how they did and what do you want to work on for next time. And they have little handouts that they get checked off on, and at the end they do like a self-reflection, so we could send a coach in for a follow-up or know what they struggled with or how they were advancing with their skills. So it's super exciting. We're so excited. We can't do D with COVID, but we're very, very excited for someday when COVID is gone and we can start doing more D.
That's so cool. So you took A, B, and C and then added a whole new D. I wonder if anyone else has done that. Have you heard of anyone else doing that, Matthew?
I have not heard of a workshop D yet, so this is like groundbreaking right here, folks.
That is so cool. I love that. And you just mentioned another tool that you guys used, and I'm wondering if anyone watching noticed or picked up on a tool that Amy just said that they use. She mentioned a DVD set. Pack skills make the difference. But I also know that a tool that you use a lot, and you told us this beforehand, are these poster sets. So can you tell us about how you use these poster sets in your organization?
Yes, I love the posters. Love the posters. So what we did is, it's challenging, even in the best environment, to keep even our coaches and us as trainers engaged, because if you're not using the skills, you're not growing your own skills. So as a way to try to continue to engage us as trainers, but also engage the coaches, we adopted, obviously if the coaches worked in certain facilities, then that facility was going to be a focus for the poster series. We had the 9 coaches, so we were able to also choose additional buildings like where we service AL and memory care, assisted living and memory care units who are usually seem to be more receptive than our skilled nursing facility partners. I don't know why that is, but it's a truth. So what we did is we bought 2 poster sets for each of the 9 buildings that were chosen, so to speak. They were either close to or accessible for our coaches. And we put 1 poster set in the unit. So that was outside of therapy, like in the memory care unit or in the locked unit in the skilled nursing facility. And then another poster set in the therapy gym. And so we started in January, and there are more than 12 posters. So we kind of weeded through and chose the ones that, because some of them overlap a little bit. So we carefully chose the ones that would keep us in a chronological order of introducing skills and that sort of thing that would be complementary to what the coaches would be providing. And we did 1 a month. And so there was a designated day where the coach would go live to the facility, which was January, February, March. And they would spend time with the facility staff and also with the therapy staff, just asking the questions. The poster would stay up all month. So when you went for your coaching session, you would say, what did you learn? Who are you going to share it with? What are you going to try? And then we would actually engage them in whatever they had been reading or paying attention to that month to continue again to build that skill, trying to gain confidence. And the posters are so wonderfully designed to kind of lead you. What is dementia? So if you start in ground zero, you're fine, because by 5 or 6, why make a positive personal connection? And then on into positive action starters. And then our one that we did this month was about our friend Bill, really going through that whole process of, now that I have a little bit of awareness, how did I turn that, awareness and knowledge into skill? And then how did that result in a positive outcome with that resident Bill that was listed on the poster? So people have become more engaged. And the good thing about the COVID is initially we panicked, but right away it landed itself well to be virtual. because we could see them. There's more than one of them. We can see them practice skills. We can still coach from afar. I was able to take over more than one facility to coach because I just grouped them all together, you know, and then it became a competition on who was going to answer questions and who wasn't. So it's been a really nice transition. And for the most part, we did have a couple of coaches who weren't as successful making the transition to the virtual piece, whether it be their caseload. So we did have a couple of buildings where we didn't stay focused, to be honest. But for the most part, we've got 5 coaches that are still actively doing the monthly poster series and providing the coaching skills despite the COVID issues and being able to go on site.
That's so cool. So you said you have 5 active coaches and you've trained over, I think you said 500 people. Lisa, I think you're a numbers person. And I love that about you. That's why I noticed those details. So you're really making some progress. And as with any kind of culture change, it takes reinforcement, it takes time, it is not an overnight fix. And one of the things that I think is so cool about you incorporating the poster sets and actually buying sets that you could have 2 in each of those facilities that you selected was, what does Teapot always say? The first way that we take in information from the world around us, and it's actually one of the posters, is what you see. And so really having that visual in, you know, really integral places in the community so people could see the poster that was reinforcing what you guys were implementing and giving with that verbal auditory cue as well. So awesome. So the poster sets, for those of you that haven't seen that, and Lisa was talking through a few of them. Why make a positive personal connection? What are my positive action starters? So these posters are really, really handy. You can check them out on www.teapasnow.com on our store. And I imagine our very skilled Carrie will probably put a link in the chat, although I didn't ask her to do that. I'm so sorry, Carrie. Hopefully she can get that for us. But the posters are a great tool. And you also really had, I think, something that's so important, which is organizational support. I mean, you had the buy-in of your organization to make such a big investment in broadening the team. Because it kind of started out with you and Amy as Lone Rangers, right?
Exactly.
And so can you tell us any little tips or tricks of how you made that buy-in happen? Because I know there's folks out there who are in the certified community who are doing it alone, and they're the Lone Ranger in their community, and they would love to have an Abby on board. They'd love to have a whole team of coaches. So any tips or tricks or ideas that you can give to folks who are watching?
Sure. Well, obviously, you know, a personal investment on my part, because it wasn't, you know, initially part of my role or job description in clinical services. So I really had to sit down and line up, how can I take what I'm expected to do and use, you know, the trainer, the whole coach thing to expand upon that. So I knew that I had to build it into my current role, you know, to get buy-in. And then when it comes to the coaches, obviously they're primarily, you know, treating therapists. So again, I think we looked at people who were already kind of taking on additional roles, like our clinical mentors that were helping our new grads. We also had like one of our endoscopists who was a speech language pathologist, but she also did endoscopy. So she had a little bit of freedom where it wouldn't like take her away from a caseload. And then I'm trying to, the other folks are just regular therapists. And when I said 5, we have still the whole 9 active coaches, but we had a couple who, just because of the nature of the technology and doing that part of it, you know, dropped off as far as doing their monthly thing. But the other 3 or 4 coaches are actually out in the field working every day a full caseload in buildings. And so we chose them specifically because of the partnerships that we had with those facilities or communities, because we knew they could have a large impact where they were. And so, you know, our chief operating officer, once we presented where we were going, starting at the student level, because we do classes at the local universities, moving into the new higher level, being able to build that into a syllabus that we have for our new grad mentors with less than a year's experience. And then again, revitalizing what we had in 2015 for our training to now our dementia trainings are workshop A, B, and C, and D. So, fully invested. And I think the payoff, we have people come on Saturdays to our training, so it doesn't take away from their work time. That's how the momentum, once it started, everybody wanted to come. We also began charging a minimal fee for our employees to help offset the cost for travel. Part of the reason we did that is because we would have, maybe 25 people sign up, but there was no cost to them. So then they might wake up and say, I'm not feeling it today. And we would be all invested and ready, and 5 people wouldn't show up. So we stepped out in faith and said, we're going to charge $25. We're going to serve you a meal, but we want you to have some skin in the game. And it really paid off. Actually, our registrations increased. In our Florida trainings where we do have to fly and stay overnight, we were able to totally offset those costs with the registration fees, because we did several trainings in a row over 3 to 4 days with that $25 fee. So it sounds like a lot, and I know people that work with me said they'll never come on Saturday and they'll never pay for it. And they did both.
You proved them wrong, Lisa. That's so cool. I love it. And one of the questions that was asked on the Facebook comments, and I don't know if this is a Lisa, Amy, or Abby question, but someone wanted to know more about the skills you do with gems. So someone had mentioned, yeah.
We can both speak to it, but I'll let Amy have some screen time.
Come on back, Amy.
So like the skits we do for the gems for Workshop C, we actually scripted it. So we actually took Tipa does gems in one of her certified webinars. So we actually took the gems that she personified and actually put that into our skit. So we knew we were doing true gems because we weren't that great at gems yet. And then over time we said, it'd be really great if we took a common activity and then at the end of the gem actually did that activity for each gem state. So we actually do toileting for all of our gem states.
Wow.
And that's always an aha moment for people too, to kind of see how that changes through each gem state.
Are there other ADLs that you do? So you mentioned toileting.
Throughout the whole day, we'll do some ADLs. We do a lot of ADLs in Workshop D. We do bathing with the emerald. We do upper body dressing with the amber, and we do toileting with the ruby. So we actually do hands-on practice, using hand under hand techniques for all of that stuff with those appropriate gem states.
So I think Lisa's more of a numbers person, and Amy, you are just people are saying on Facebook, like, you are so smooth, and just the way you're describing this makes it sound so easy, but it's not easy. And you guys have been working really hard to get this implemented and make this culture change happen. What would you say are some of your biggest successes? So we want to celebrate with you.
Just the fact that I think it's just a new appreciation for somebody living with dementia. I think that's the biggest success, to have the ahas. For therapists, as therapists, we want everybody to be successful. We want to have a positive influence on people. And oftentimes that person living with dementia is so challenging. We don't understand it. We don't understand their behavior. We don't understand how to help them best, or how to set up their cues. Or before I went and become PAC certified, I didn't have the vocabulary to tell other people what I did, so then they could go and duplicate it, or what I was doing bad that maybe they were doing great and we didn't have the vocabulary to talk about it. So now that we do this PAC training, a lot of us are on the same page with vocabulary and techniques and things like that, and it's just made such a positive change in how our job satisfaction is, and the outcomes we have on people living with dementia has been really wonderful. It's definitely been the elephant in the room, as I used to say. There's just seems like there's just an elephant in the room. I just don't get it. And then I started to learn more about PAC philosophy, and I was like, that's it. That's what we've been missing.
That's so cool. So it was a real buy-in from your organization. And also Lisa was talking about some of those ways to really talk to maybe those in power about the payoff for the investment. And it sounds like you guys have shown the quality of what you brought back and what you're rolling out. So that's so cool. I think that Matthew, if my partner can come back on, wants to talk about some upcoming events, because we do, if you still want to get PAC trained, to be a PAC certified independent trainer this year, there are still some opportunities to do that. And then while Matthew's sharing that, I'd love to just hear from each of you before we wrap up the show, of what advice would you guys have for someone who is considering getting a PAC certification? So we want to hear from you. Why should someone jump in one of these courses before the end of the year?
All right. So thank you so much, Rebekah, and such a great point out. There's so much going on, and we got some certifications coming up, but I'd first like to touch just on those champion days. Now, these are the ones where you guys can go in and you can really build that skill. So being able to work on your PPA, being able to then work on that hand under hand in certain skill-based exercises, and then going into learning more about doing this with the gems and getting all of that great information and great practice. It's wonderful. We've got all sorts coming up on Fridays. You know, we got this one coming up on Friday at 10. It's Champion Day 3. So for sure, you want to go to 1 and 2 before you go to 3. But we've got these other ones set up. So look at that tepasnow.com/events. You guys will be able to see that. And then that certification that Rebekah was talking about. Now, this one coming up October 20th, 21st, it's kind of geared a little more towards those rec therapists, but you still could come if you're not a rec therapist and get that trainer certification. But the really cool thing about this certification is that it's a pre-approved for CEs for rec therapists. So you will get CEs as a rec therapist when you attend this certification. So get on there, register, especially for rec therapists. We'd love to have you, and you get those CEs, which helps to check some of those boxes off for some of us who like to check those boxes. So definitely a must. Check that out. Unfortunately, you know, we talk so much about the coaching certification and the coaching cycles, and see, the kitty's sad. There's no more coaching certs this year, but I have it on good account that there'll be one coming soon in 2021, and they're going to be getting out the schedule here for 2021 for everybody to see. So keep your eye on that tepasnow.com/event page. You'll be able to see what's coming up here in the future and get that coaching cert. So if we've piqued your interest, we've got you excited about it, it's coming. Just hold on. It'll be here. We'll meet that need. We promise. Just give us a little bit of time and we'll have that for you. And then looking at our webinars and certs and events that we have going on, of course, we've got the Let's Talk with Tepa tomorrow at 1 for all those folks who are living with dementia with their care partners to be able to get on and talk with Tepa. But then we have the ever popular, the ATA, the Ask Tepa Anything, where you can go on, you can throw your questions on, and we try to get them to Tepa so she can answer those. And just such a great session of exploring all sorts of different things. You really can't go wrong with those Ask Tepa Anythings, because you are always going to walk away with something. And of course, when you see Tepa, you always walk away with something new. So, and then the Brain Connection Cafe, the Care Day Symposium on the 25th. And of course, every day we've got Tepa for 10 in the morning. So you get a little bit of Tepa, and she always has some great things. And on the weekends, she's got her grandkids. She's got Braden and Benji on there. And that is so awesome. Because she shows some great skills and ways of engagement. And I always walk away with something new from those. Of course, again, Tepa, always walk away with something new. And then our Live at 5 team every Monday through Friday, great content. They had a wonderful gentleman, Brian, who was on there, who's living, he's part of our core team. He's living with brain change, and he's actually going to be a part of our PAC conference as well. So if you didn't get a chance to see it, it's recorded. It's on there. Go on there and take a look and see. You can catch that episode. And you can catch all these episodes and our episodes. They'll come out and they'll be there for you to see again if you'd like to revisit those. And of course, as always, go on that tepasnow.com/events so you can see all the upcoming events. And sign up for all of the different updates that they send out so you guys can stay on top of all this wonderful stuff, especially that PAC conference. I can't wait for that. I know. How about you, Rebekah?
I am so excited. It was so amazing last year, and I know it's going to be even more amazing this year. So living under the umbrella, check out the conference, and we hope to see you all there. Also, next week, I just want to throw out that we kind of going along with this idea of teamwork. Next week, we do have a group from PACE. It is PACE Southeast Michigan. Southeast Michigan. Wow, say that 3 times fast. So please check out that. Again, more about how can you build your team. If you are a Lone Ranger in your community and you're PAC certified, but really needing to get that team so that you can bring that culture change that we all want to do. It's about making a difference in the lives of those who are living with dementia. I did say I wanted to hear from the guests if they can just give us a last minute shout out for what advice do you have for someone who is considering becoming PAC certified? Who wants to go first?
I would just say, do it. I did it just because I was at that point in my career where I thought I needed another degree or certification, and this sounded like a fun way to do it. And oh my gosh, the things that I learned really changed my life as a person, not just as a therapist, but as a person, how I view other people and how I communicate with other people. It was definitely life-changing and worth every penny.
Nice. So just do it. I think I've heard that somewhere before. How about you, Lisa and Abby?
Okay. So I first learned about PAC I attended one of Lisa and Amy's trainings, and it very much resonated with me. I was just kind of like, why does everybody not know about this? Like, why is this not a bigger thing? Like, why haven't I found out about this till now? Because I love it because it's so concrete. It just gives you, because sometimes when you're just presented with a person with dementia and whatever that situation is, you're like, well, what do I do? You know, and it gives you, if you can remember nothing else, you can remember the positive approach. And it's concrete. It's very organized, and there's just so many resources for it. What I love the most about being a coach is really a lot of continuing eds. You go to, okay, well, this is the information. Okay, have a nice day, have a nice life. With PAC, it's, okay, we're done. Now, what are you going to do? How are you going to implement this? And you don't get your CEUs or your certification until we do this follow-up meetings that we did. So really, I think it challenges you to not just learn and receive the information, but then to use it, which I think is a huge difference.
I love that. So for you, Abby, it sounds like not abstract, but very concrete skills, PPA, the cycles that we go through, these skills that you could immediately implement. And that's one of the things that I think makes TIPA and the PAC team so different is you literally walk away with those applies. That thing that we're going to do differently because of what I learned. It's not just hearing it and okay, it's entertaining or it's fun. You know, TIPA makes it fun to learn, but also what am I actually going to do differently? What about you, Lisa?
Well, I definitely do it, but take somebody with you, because the power of having someone else to keep you engaged and hold you accountable and build something together, whether it be somebody in your own company, you know, if that's possible and you can get that return on your investment, and I'll be happy to help anybody with that. Or if it's somebody maybe from another company, just somebody that you can go alongside with throughout the process. You can continue to build your training or coaching, whatever certification you get, continue to work on those skills and build those skills. I think that's critical. It's just go, but bring somebody with you.
I love that. I love that idea of, yes, it's all about making it a team. But for those of you that are out there and you can't, you are maybe just paying for this on your own, or you are the only one that can be sent at this time. I would say then use the PAC certified community. Use the Lisas and the Abbies and the Amy's and the Matthews and the Rebeccas and all of our team to be part of your greater team if you can't take someone with you. I mean, I do think that being able to have more than one person certified is great. And yet if you can't, please lean on us, because that's what we're here for. And It's part of why we started SUP, was so that you guys could hear from each other and learn from each other and grow together, so that we don't have any Lone Rangers out there, but we're all learning and growing together. So any last words, Matthew?
Yes, I totally forgot. Right now, guys, it's Prime Days. So we mentioned some great videos today. The pack skills make a difference, and so just some other things that all places, all facilities, all folks who are care partners could really use those resources. And Prime Days through Amazon gives you the opportunity to save, and it's 30% right now on all pack videos on Amazon Prime. So if you have a Prime membership, definitely get on there and check it out. And even without that, just get on there, check it out. There's a lot of pack materials on Amazon Prime, or just Amazon. We know people love Amazon. I mean, I think we get probably 30 packages a week at least. I don't know. How about you, Rebekah?
And who doesn't love a deal? I mean, oh, yes.
For sure.
Everyone loves a deal. So check that out. And you can find a link to that on the website as well. So if you aren't familiar with Amazon, if this is a new concept for you, go on our cheapestsnow.com website.
And our wonderful Carrie did provide that in the comment section as well, so you guys can click on it there as well.
Of course she did. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Matthew.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Lisa and Abby, Carrie, Rebekah, and Rachel for letting us use her Zoom account so we could do this today. She came through in a pinch so we could get this done, and we're so thankful to everybody today who helped us out, especially with our technical issues. Again, so sorry for that.
And we all stayed Sapphire, so it's great. See you guys next week. Thanks for showing up for another episode of SUP.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.